Wasn't that great? Wasn't that just great? Barbara, thank you. Thank you, thank you. It's beautiful. Now, the choir. Oh my God, you are fabulous. Fabulous. Oh. What great harmony. What great soul. Really beautiful. Thank you. Well, it's fun to be with you this morning. Reverend Sue picks out our topics each week, and she picked this month A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes. Fairly new book. It was one of the last ones he wrote while he was alive. Great, great book. And it's written in good old-fashioned English, so you can understand it real easy. So I encourage you to check it out in the bookstore. So I have a question for you. Does anybody feel like they're living in a rut? Anybody? Somebody's going, yeah, a couple people. Well, okay, you're in the right place. But I bet there's some of you that are feeling like there's got to be more to this life experience than what I've had so far. Something's pushing us, shoving us, and questioning us, saying, you know, it could be a lot better only if only, or whatever. But there's this urge, and it's a natural urge, and it's part of the universe. In this New Design for Living that Ernest Holmes wrote, he uses principles, spiritual mind principles, to talk about how to renew our life. Because no matter where you are in your age group, you can be renewed. You can be, as they say, born again, but renewed to your true potentiality that's always been there, laying and waiting for you to discover. And so there's two things I want to talk about. First is a willingness to let go, a willingness to cut yourself loose from those things, those habit patterns that you've been dragging along with you that don't serve you. And if you think about it for a minute, I bet you might catch a thread of that somewhere. What have I been dragging along with me that doesn't serve me? And the first thing in recreating a life or in embellishing life is to be willing to let go of that. So willingness is the first part. The second part is to enlarge your viewpoint of what your life can be. Enlarge your viewpoint. Now, I have seen the Heart Song Choir grow from a few people to this fantastic group with Mike and Baron on the drums and Phoebe and Judy and all of these people putting together such a marvelous expression of their love. And we do that in our life too, but we have to think bigger. Think bigger. Think outside the box. Because you're the architect of your life. And if you didn't know that before, I'm here to tell you, you are the architect of your life. So nothing is standing in the way except your mind. And that's what we're here to focus on this morning. Expanding your dream, thinking bigger. Because things are not what they appear to be. And if you know that I love quantum physics, the unseen part of the universe, I just love that part because it's so juicy, because there's a lot going on here. It's called the field of potential, field of infinite possibilities. It's the field of the universe. It's one big energy field of which we are in, and we are energy moving in that field. So we have so much potential. Most of the time, we think we're in this box of a life, of a relationship, of a job, of reading, whatever. We're in this kind of box in life. And this morning, I encourage you to realize that you're really the architect, no one else. You aren't here because of something somebody said or did. You're here, especially this morning, because you wanted to be here, and hopefully glean a message that will help you on your way. So we're in here to discover ourselves. Now, I like the way Ernest Holmes put this. We are our own scientists, because scientists are always delving into stuff. They're always trying to figure things out. We are our own scientists. We have our own laboratory, which is our body and our life. Our life is our laboratory, and we're the ones that get to experiment with it. And I challenge you to experiment with it. Try this on for size and see, oh my God, it works. So you are the scientist, the laboratory, and the experiment all wrapped into one. Isn't that great? But it comes with a lot of responsibility. Because when we go, no. You know that feeling? That feeling? Yeah, no. So I'm putting on my white lab coat this morning to tell you that our minds are greater than anything that we've seen. Our minds are greater than our body. Our minds are much greater than our brain. And it's connected to that universal intelligence that we call God. And if God is a word that is uncomfortable for some new people, we call it Big Sweetie or Infinite Intelligence, your choice. But it's all a unity, it's all one, and that's the great part. You know, we are all brothers and sisters because we're swimming in this field of infinite intelligence and pure potentiality, which is a great word. I love that word. And so to truly grasp this, Ernest Holmes is saying this to you. You're out of your crib. You're out of the crib. You can't hold back anymore. You're out of the crib. You're going to have to learn to walk and talk and be part of this greater potentiality. Isn't that fun? It's really fun. It's very fun, but it takes some talent here. And that's what we teach in classes, which is why I love to teach classes, because it's focusing our energy, because every moment our body's giving off protons, and you know, you can feel my energy and I can feel your energy, and we're all swimming in this kind of soup of life. So our mind is energy in action. So when people say your thoughts are things, that's kind of a hard swallow because you want it to be a thing. But it's energy in action. Our thoughts are these little packets of energy, ping, 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 going all over the place. And if we can focus them, they have more energy. And if we repeat them, they have more energy. And so they kind of all clump together, and all of a sudden, by the end of the day, we have our intention about our life. Because these energy, balls of energy, clump together, they become our intention. Am I intending on contributing to my relationship in a loving way? Am I intending to do my job the best I can, even though it's drudgery? What is my intention for my life today? So Lynn McTaggart is the author of a book called The Intention Experiment. And I love her because she's an investigative reporter. And she said, I want the hard facts, ma'am. Remember that show, Dragnet? Just the facts, ma'am. And so that's what she goes for. And she travels all over the world. And this whole book is about intention. When people intend something, what happens? She studied all the results. She doesn't study. She looks at the facts of people who healed from terminal diseases. And what she found is that the people that instantaneously healed were ones that looked at their own attitude about this disease, and they shifted their whole psyche about it. And they decided to take charge. Karen and Sharon know that. They decided to be their own advocate and take charge of this. And they had spontaneous healings. It was their intention, their focused thought, their focused intention. So she has a website, if you're ever interested, Lynn McTaggart of The Intention Experiment. She invites you to participate because, you know, our thoughts travel around the world as fast as the speed of light. And so you can participate in her intention experiments that are done all over the world. It's really quite fascinating. So our thoughts pick up energy as we focus them and as we repeat them. And so when we say, it's a crappy place to live, Redding, California. Okay, it's a crappy place. And, you know, all of a sudden we believe it, and yet, what a beautiful place to live. So there's all these things going on in our mind, and it's up to us to catch ourselves and go, oh, you know, I've been repeating that a while. No wonder that kind of showed up in my life. And one way we try and help you with this is in Creative Thought Magazine. This is our little monthly magazine with affirmative prayers in it. And if you haven't used it, I really encourage you to. I carry one with me because when I forget, this is where I go. These affirmative prayers embed in you this type of thinking. Peace lives in me. I mean, who wouldn't want that for a day? I am calm, peaceful, and centered. I am always enough. My word in action. I consciously choose a good life. Who wouldn't want a prayer like that? I'm whole, perfect, and complete. I am positive spiritual growth. Forgiveness sets me free. Great little magazine. Helps you remember. Helps you embed those thoughts in mind that become your intention. And your intention then outpictures. So we can improve our health with this. We can improve relationships, we can improve our creativity, but guess what? We can improve the future with this, because the result of this takes place in the future, the result of these intentions. That's how we create a future that works beautifully for us. So there's a couple things that are important in this, and the first one is to have a specific goal. Because if we just say, I want a great future, Spirit's like, okay, it could be anything. You know, my idea of great is different from your idea of great. So it's important to be specific. But it's also important, the way these prayers are written, is that we assume it already occurred. We assume it already happened, because that is emotion, that is an energy that can act. If we say, I want it to happen in the future, the future is always evading us. So we have to talk about it happening today. Then we engage our senses, our smell, our feeling, our touch, our emotions, our sight. We look at beautiful things if we want to have a beautiful intention. And I was reading about this famous basketball player. He said before a game, he goes through 30 different plays from the time he's starting running down the court till he feels the ball, he sees the net, he sees people, he sees things. He goes through 30 different plays time and time and time again. And then guess what? Like any Olympic athlete, when the motion comes, it's natural. It's synchronous. It's symmetry. It just flows. Olympic athletes do this all the time. It's already happened in their mind 1,000 times. And so the universe supports that totally. So we've discussed the thoughts are things, but there's a couple of other factors that I want to bring in to you this morning. And sometimes it's fun to use props. So I walked in this morning and Sue said, oh, you have props. Yes, I have props. Yes, I do. And the first prop is faith, our faith. Our faith is a container. How much faith do we have? Is our level of faith full of sieves that wouldn't hold a cup of water? Is it really strong and sturdy? Is our faith practical? Good old Tupperware. Is our faith practical? So I invite you to think about your faith in this philosophy, your faith that Reading is a great place to live, your faith that you deserve a relationship filled with love. Is your faith strong or is your faith weak? Is it solid or porous? Think about that, and think that if you have a strong, strong faith, what that does to start the ball rolling when you declare for yourself, I have a life filled with love. I am prosperous. I have a job that I feel bliss when I'm there at my work. So faith is the container. But then it's our mental equivalent that is the shape. My mental equivalent for a loving relationship has shown up with my husband. Now, some people have a mental equivalent of a relationship that's quite different, that may be something they learned when they were growing up, that relationships are full of strife. They're not always happy, you just endure them. It could be a mental equivalent of just about anything. So the mental equivalent is the shape. Now, I went out and picked this gorgeous, gorgeous yellow rose from our garden out here this morning. And when I put it in this container, it doesn't do too much for me. When I put it in this container, it doesn't do much for me. But when I put it in this container, it's exquisite. See the difference? Mental equivalent. The mental equivalent of what I think makes a rose look absolutely beautiful. Now, your house is full of mental equivalents of who you are. And I invite you to kind of snoop around. Snoop around and see which of these mental equivalents you really don't need anymore, and which ones make you feel exquisite. It's a really good thing to do, a really good thing. So, mental equivalents in your life. Important to think about them, and you can tell when you look around you. Is your house spacious or is it cramped? Is your job blissful or is it drudgery? That's your mental equivalent, what's going on in your mind, whether you're consciously realizing it or not. Now, Paul and I are choosing to live in a cramped, tiny room for 3 weeks next month when we go on a European river cruise. So you were feeling cramped, weren't you? European river cruise. Oh, no, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So we'll be gone most of the month of June, but just think of us with that little teeny tiny deck that we get to peek out and watch the castles and all that, because that is our mental equivalent of a trip that we've wanted to take a long time. Last summer, we had booked it last summer, and he had to have his knee replaced, and so that was what he needed to do to get strong enough to walk up all these mountains and these hills and countries that we're going to see. But it's time to think about what you're accepting for yourself in life. And it's been a while since we've done something like this, but it's going to be worth every moment of it. So that's our mental equivalent right now. It's time to really enjoy the world. So it's often thinking outside the box. I met a woman about a year ago who came to me because she had a string of disastrous relationships. And I probably wouldn't think of them as disastrous, but she sure felt that way. So I said, well, what are you attracting? What mental equivalent are you attracting? And she said, well, I'm attracting men that I can fix because I'm really good at that. And no, you don't want to do that. I'm attracting men that need me because I have a lot to give. What do you get with a partner that's needy? You get someone who's jealous and controlling, because they need to control you. That's their need. Anyway, so we finally kind of worked through that, and I said, well, what is the mental equivalent of what you'd really like to have? Well, she said, someone who's loving, who's in integrity, who's intelligent, who's generous. I said, well, here's the tough part. Here's the secret. You have to be that. If you're not that, it's not going to show up, because your mental equivalent will show up. So that's what we're here to do, to decide what it is that we want and be that. Be the loving, kind, intelligent, generous, supportive person. And sometimes that's hard, because sometimes we've learned to be dependent or codependent or some other psychological description. But if we decide what we want, we can get it. But first, we have to be the little ball of energy that gathers like energy, that vibrates at a certain level, that the other person who's just like that shows up. So when we go, I don't like this relationship, we have to think about what our energy is, where we're vibrating that energy, where we're putting that intention in mind without consciously understanding what's really happening here. So you're the architect. You're the scientist, you're the designer, you're the experiment, you're all of that, all in one. So, what's your measuring cup? Are you a quarter cup person? Is that all you can handle in life in a relationship? Are you a half cup person? A third cup, a whole cup? What is it in life that you're less than whole in? Then you know what it is. You just pick one. You don't have to pick a dozen. But if you're a quarter cup person, come and see me. And I mean that sincerely. I mean that sincerely. That's what we're here to do. That's what practitioners are here to do, to help you see that the quarter cup is not you. It's not who you are. It's not who you're meant to be. It's not who God made you to be, because you are a creation of the one to live life in the fullest way possible. And if you're doing anything less, you're a quarter cup person. It's time to get past that. It's really time to get past that. So our mental equivalent, you know, Sue and I have been interim pastors, co-pastors here for almost a year. It'll be a year on June 1st. And here's my clear desire for this center. We do not have to be barely adequately funded. We don't have to keep moving money from account to pay the bills. We've got the money, but we have to keep moving it around, taking it away from things we want to do to things we have to do. And I'm an exceptionally prosperous thinking person, and this has to be an exquisite center that can do what it wants with whatever money it takes to do that. And I'm inviting you to have that consciousness, not only for the center, but for you personally. Join us in this prayer of prosperity. There's enough. There's plenty in the world. Join us in doing that for your own life and knowing it for us, knowing it for the center, because this is your center. I made a list of all the possible candidates of all, I've been tracking all our candidates who are going to vie for the position of pastor, and I made a list and I gave it 15 slots, and we've got 18 candidates, which is wonderful. When we hit 15, I went, oh, that's enough. And the universe said, oh, no. They kept coming. They kept coming. And it's really exciting. And we're doing telephone interviews with people, and we're trying to rank and screen. And thank God for this committee, because they are extremely dedicated. But we're watching every day, what is our mental equivalent? What are we putting out there? What is our mental equivalent? So we'll see when it shows up, because it will be your mental equivalent too. It's going to be all of us intersecting our desires and our knowing that will draw the mental equivalent of that to us. So I'm not worried, because most likely they're going to come and talk in June, and I'm going to be on this river somewhere. And I won't care, because I already will have known them through everything that we've done. So I know they're in good hands with you. So I'm inviting you to join us in this prosperity consciousness, because why not? I'm done with struggle. I worked 45 years, well, now 46, but it's time in all of our lives to show what can be done. If you haven't read our mission statement lately, it is, we are here to empower individuals to live an abundant, spirit-connected life through sacred service, community, and science of mind principles. And we look at that every month, because I see it on our newsletter, and that is what we're here to do. So I invite you to, in your own life, get out of debt, pay your bills on time, have more money to spend, have a fulfilling and prosperous life, and as you do, everyone around you does. And as everyone around you does, the center does naturally. So that's the big message today in designing a new way of living for yourself and the center. So we've talked about a few things, that there's this invisible reality behind everything that we call God, universal intelligence, big sweetie. And it's everything that has been and will be. It's all things seen and unseen. And our thoughts are the determining factors in our lives, because our thoughts are little balls of energy that may go out and just do nothing, but the more we focus on them, it creates this ball of intention, this energy of intention that draws like energy to it. So we are watching our mental equivalents. And if you don't know what they are, just look around you and you will see. You will see what your mental equivalent is of a vase or a flower, as an example for you today. There is nothing in the universe that is against us. God created each one of us for us, to support us in whatever we choose to do with this experiment of life. And so we watch our attitude, we watch what's going through our mind, we watch the things around us, and we just make corrections, like on a sailboat. I have a neighbor that sails on our little lake, and when he's going this way, he ends up at that part of the shore, but if he tacks just a little bit different, a little bit change in attitude, he ends up at another place across the lake. That's how it's done. A little bit every day, you'll find yourself in a whole new place. So I'd like to leave you with this reading from the last page of this book. And I am just a great Ernest Holmes fan, so I love the way he says this. A great adventure lies ahead of you. Discover within yourself that divine spark which may be fanned into a glowing flame. It will give you warmth and it will give you security. The light from it can certainly and surely guide you to the greatest experience any person can have, the experience of the presence of God, to whom and through and whose law all things are possible. So join me in an affirmative prayer for that. In this moment, I feel the presence of God. I feel it in the people next to me in this room. I feel it in your energy and your light, your smiles, your presence of peace. All of these are parts of this universal infinite intelligence. And this morning I accept for everyone here a reviewed and renewed life experience. As the architect of your life, as your body resembles the experiences and the thoughts and the beliefs in your mind, as your whole life shows you the power of the mind, we are humbled in knowing that we've been given this talent, we've been given this right, and we are fully supported in this. So I rejoice at meeting 100 new architects, 100 new scientists, ready to explore and experiment. From this moment forward, we are out of the crib, we're into the world, and it is an adventure. We accept it with the full support of the universe behind us, in us and through us, and that is the truth. And so it is. Thank you.